to start with you, and my first question for you all is, who are your people, and what is the legacy that you carry with you?
My people are, God, the first thing that comes to mind is like, I love New York. New York in the house. You know, they really were like the training ground for me to do filmmaking, but obviously also my family. I mean, I featured it in the feature film movie, so they are my family, they are my legacy, and this film is a legacy too. So, I mean, I have to carry it for the rest of my life.
Thank you so much. And Chen, director, what about you?
Great question, thank you so much. I think it's immigrants, children of immigrants kind of pursuing the American dream. I think that's everybody in this room here. I think that is what this film is about. And I'm glad I was able to make a story that shares who I am and who all of you hopefully kind of connect with. So, immigrants in the pursuit of the American dream is my answer right there.
Thank you so much. And Jerry, we're so honored to have you here. And I wonder from you, who are your people and what is the legacy that you carry with you?
In the movie said already I'm from Taiwan. Now I'm in Taiwan now. I went back to Taiwan. And this bad thing happened to me, but I want everyone to know scam cows everywhere. Especially for the old people. Be careful. You need to be told, be alert.
Thank you for that. Jerry's pointed out the fact that scams, and we can see that in the title at the end of the film, 3 billion older folks. And just want to point out that one of the community partners of this event is APA Law Outreach, and you can reach out to them. They actually have a team of folks that really specifically work around helping elders deal with scams, because we know it's such a big issue. I have so many questions, and I think my first is, what is the timing for all of this? I see at the very end that it was during Zoom that you told your family, but Jerry, when did this first come up timing-wise? When did you tell your family about what happened?
When I told my family, I know I'm being scammed, and I told them I'm scammed, I lost all my money.
And when was that? Or
Or
John, maybe you could give a little bit of
it was around 2021, so it was.
So I saw from the film that you did that on Zoom. John, what was your experience as one of the family members hearing this story from your dad?
Well, yeah, like we were all, self-quarantined, and at that time, Omicron, I think, was still raging on. So, like, just realizing, oh my gosh, we have been so out of touch because of just COVID and just like everyone just being busy with their own lives. So I think like it came as a huge shock that this would happen, and so we immediately started asking questions on that Zoom. We were just like that reaction that you see at the dining table in the Chinese restaurant. That was basically a recreation of what happened on Zoom. Jerry was eating while he's just like, yeah, just lost everything. And we're just like, what? How could you be so dumb? And all of a sudden, everything.
It was that casual of a conversation in the beginning?
It was, yeah.
And then Jerry, at what point did you decide, we should make this into a film?
When they know what happened to me, they want to know more details. And
I've got a whole story about that. But first of all, thank you for having us. Thank you guys for sitting here and watching this story. I want to thank this SF crew of mine that came out to support me. Thank you so much. Friends here, Mishka, Chalet, thank you guys so much for coming as well. But most of all, I'd like to thank Jonathan and of course Jerry for just like sharing the story with us. It's so brave to take something that's so shameful in an Asian American family and show the world. So I think that, thank you to you guys for letting us give it up for Jerry. But this whole journey began about a year and a half ago, and John and I had been working together for about 10 years. He's my line producer. We were working out of New York. And a year and a half ago, he gives me a phone call. It's like something terrible has just happened. And I thought it was like he lost a location for some shoot we were doing, or some like actor's schedule got messed up. He's like, no, my father just lost $1 million. And I'm like, what? He's like, yes, my father just lost $1 million, and I don't know how it happened. Because he's telling me these like insane stories. Can you come down with us to Florida to find out what happened? I'm building a case for the FBI. I need evidence, and I need this on camera. So I was like, sounds like there's a movie here. Let's go down to Florida.
First, he was a friend, and he was going to help me because...
Of course. We go down to Florida, and we begin interviewing Jerry, because it's like, Jerry, what exactly happened? And he weaves us this sort of fantastical tale about being an undercover agent in an international money laundering investigation, and he's going to banks and taking surveillance photos, and he's wearing a wiretap and collecting information from bank tellers, and the entire time he's keeping it secret from his family. And I'm like, this is fiction. This is purely fiction. What do we even have here? But this needs to be a movie.
That's when we were like, yeah, maybe this movie.
But how do you go make this movie? Everything has already happened. Do we go and write a fictional feature where we have to go cast somebody to play like a 70-year-old Asian man? There's 2 actors in Hollywood that can do that. Tai Ma. And he's not going to pick up our phone call tomorrow to like, let's do this. So we asked Jerry, how would you like to play yourself? And what did you say to me?
Only a spy movie.
Only if it's a spy film. Because he felt like James Bond, he felt like Jason Bourne, and he wanted the audience to feel the same way. So that's what we did. We made a documentary that kind of feels like a spy film, but ultimately it's about this immigrant's pursuit, this searching and this losing, and then finding again of the American dream.
Mission accomplished, sirs. Thank you very much. Definitely got that. At what point in the creative process did you weave these tales together? And how much of, because it's your actual family, how much of that was improv and just like an outline of each of those scenes, or was it totally scripted out?
Well, yeah, so, during this interview process, we were asking him, and we were like, Jerry, can you write this down for us?
Yeah, I remember everything. And so, a couple days later, he delivers to us in screenplay format. Everything the scammer said to him, we're like, I was like, how do you know to do this? Courier Farm 14 point, all the dialogue space. I was like, how do you? He was like, oh, I used to do playwright, stuff when you were a kid. I'm like, what? When did? How did I get into film and TV and not even know this? And, he's like, oh yeah, I always wanted to do that when I came to America, acting, writing.
Part of the process of choosing to make this film was this discovery that this was Jerry's passion when he first came to America in the 70s. And he gave that up to support his family. These ungrateful sons. He gave it all up to give them a life in America.
Too bad.
Wait, so talk a little bit more about the family scenes. Were those totally scripted out?
I think so. So we had his script, and then for the documentary, that was a pure doc, and we were just interviewing him, just asking questions about how did this happen. And so we went to each individual member. Kathy, who's amazing, my mom, and my mom.
Some people say it's great casting, weird casting.
Where'd you find her?
That's his mother. So I think that question is it's a big story behind it. It's like, what is documentary, what is fiction? What is real, what is not real? And that is something that we ask ourselves every single day after every day of shooting. What are we doing here? What is real, what is not real? We had this script that Jerry gave us about the scam and the spy film that happened. but we were kind of secretly making this documentary about this guy and his family. And throughout, we had to like follow some sort of rule for ourselves to stay sane of like, how do you make this film? And it's like, at some point we were like, you know what? It's the aspect ratio. Let's just make that the rule, where it's like, the wider the screen, the more fictionalized it is. And the more narrow it is, the more true it is. And there's many different layers of what is true and what's not true.
And so all the home video footage that he took growing up, that I took growing up, that is pure doc. That is our archival footage, in a sense.
And then there's 16:9 stuff, which is like documentary, and some of it's recreated documentary. And there's full like aspect ratio 2:37, that's like spy film. But even in that, there's documentary moments of him just being himself. So it's a tough question to answer, but it was sort of the basis for our whole film.
And how much home footage did you have? How much home footage did you have to go through? Because it seemed like there was a lot.
Yeah, I'm like the family like archivist historian, so I digitized all the VHS stuff, and then like I was like sending clips to Lawrence. Lawrence dug through all my childhood videos.
I sifted through all of his deep, dark family secrets.
There's a lot of stuff I did not want to even see up there, but put it up there anyway.
Homecoming choreographed dance. Anyways, there was these plays that I found, like deep in the archive, of Jerry playing the prodigal son during like a Christmas church play, where he says, "If I lose all my money,
It's like the theme.
what do I have left?" And I was like, what is going on here? This was 40 years ago. And yeah, I don't know, it was just serendipitous how all that kind of stuff came together into this monster of film.
Can any of the three of you talk a little bit about what materialism means and what you're trying to say in the film when you show the difference between Kathy's house and Jerry's house, and then also the tale that you were saying about the prodigal son? What does that mean? What are you trying to say in the film?
I'm talking a lot, but I'm gonna keep talking.
I think materialism, I mean, you can see a difference both in lighting as well as set dressing, but it wasn't set dressing. That's their homes, that's their lighting. You know, it was not, we didn't set up lights and stuff to do that. When it comes to materialism, I am very much being the middle child as well as the product of Jerry and Kathy. I'm right in between. Like I'll be a super miser at one point, which makes me a good producer, but then I'll also know where to spend the money, which makes me a good producer. So, but I would say like Jerry, I would ask him because I love his philosophy, because I mean, were you angry? Like, how did you feel when you lost everything?
Movie I already said, material things to me not more real, like belong to the world. We only have the right to use it. When you die, you cannot carry it with you. We're coming to the world with nothing. We go back, when we die, we cannot carry anything either. So I'm more realize, the material things you have it, you not really have it. We just have right to use it. We don't own it. And so if I'm scammed, these material things let me go away. Right? I'm still alive, but these things just go away. Or if I died, the material things live in the whole world, so I leave them. So either they leave me or I leave them. So, like Paul in the Bible said, those things are all done. Okay? And I told my wife at early marriage area time, I said, it's all done. He said, you're crazy. Material things you can enjoy it, have a good life. But I already looked through it. I said, you don't want to be carried away by material and try to chasing it. So, she in the movie said that he's worried about me committing suicide. But at the beginning, she already know me. I want to live like poorly, rather than and died I think in each. So I will survive. I will live. Like Chinese old saying, if you have a mountain there, you don't worry about firewood. We are the mountain. We need to leave. Bad things happen to us 3 days later, 3 months later. It's all, you look back, it's all nothing. When we were young, we said, oh, got a bad score in test. Like, that's the end of the world. But you look back now, what? That's nothing. So, in the life, we're still going to be something terrible happen, but keep survive. Things will change. That's what I'm thinking. The material is really not that important.
Just to answer your question as well, we learned this thinking that Jerry had throughout making this thing, and then John had never really sat down, nor have we ever really sat down to like listen to our parents to see how they think about stuff like this, you know. And it was materialism was such a strong theme throughout, and it was us trying to explore how do we pursue it. And it was, again, back to this thing, like this immigrant's pursuit of the American dream is in some ways this pursuit of materialism. And you can see it from Jonathan's parents, a kind of stereotypical example of all of our parents. Like Jerry is kind of like all of our dads, and Kathy's a little bit like all of our moms, in that like,
I see a lot of
my dad is, yeah, like, there's one side that's, and very prevalent in Asian culture, I need to save everything, to pass it on to the next generation, to leave my legacy.
Everything, plastic bags,
Everything. Cardboard boxes, bags, monies, everything. And then this other kind of new age version of the American dream is I want to live this lavish lifestyle and enjoy it. And like, where is the balance of that? Like, it's in all of us, you know, these two things. And we were kind of just like teetering this line, trying to figure out, you know, these two different parties exploring these two completely separate American dreams, and how does it end up for the two of them? We don't want to comment on it, we're just looking at it.
You know, what's interesting is even after getting to finish the film and sending it to film festivals, when Jerry was like, you know, I don't have anything else to pass on to my children, but if the story helps your career, John, then I'm still doing my job as a dad. I'm still providing for my son.
John needs some good story to okay, I do it for your career. I even sell the body.
The nude scene.
The good son.
The toilet nude scene.
It's like his thigh.
That was an hour-long discussion with Jerry, and at the end he yelled, "I'm selling my body for money." And he agreed to do it.
Thank you for that, I appreciate it. I wonder about intergenerational communication and listening, which really felt like a big theme for me. Was that intentional? Was that something that you just noticed as you were going through the process?
Yeah, I don't know why it took something so drastic for us to really listen. I think it's important that it doesn't get to that point, and that we really find intentional questions to ask our parents and hear their response. You know, it's not just like the usual, how are you doing? Fine, good. How are you? Good. Did you eat? Yeah, I ate. You know, that kind of conversation, like the routine, like how do you break that routine? How do you ask something different? How do you say, what did you do today that made you happy? Or is there something on your mind that you've been wanting to share with me? I don't know, like something intentional.
Who are you sending money to?
Are you dating? Yeah, it's like all like these kinds of questions that I think we are afraid to ask because we kind of at least I did, put my parents on a pedestal of like, they know what they're doing, they're parents, like, they know what they're doing with their finances. I don't have to worry about that, I got my own life to live. But, you know, at one point we find that we are going to have to take care of our parents. We are just avoiding that kind of thought.
Jerry has really good thoughts on this, but before we do, it's like, from a third party, being allowed to examine this tragedy in this family, as the director and someone who is not a family member, the entire time I was asking myself and everybody else, why did this happen? And how did this happen? And asking John the tough questions like, whose fault is it? And it's kind of everybody's fault, but over the course of making it, realizing it's like, it was so easy for this to happen to Jerry. His kids are out, he doesn't live with them, his wife's somewhere else, and he's just by himself. Ex-wife. And Jerry and John, you know, has these very kind of superficial calls where he doesn't dive deep, and it took this whole film, this whole tragedy, for that family to kind of come together and actually communicate. And it shouldn't take that. Yeah. Anyways, Jerry, what did you?
For you said the parents know what to do, but when they're getting old, they fall behind high tech, sometimes become like dumb, you know, they don't think clearly enough. So children need, I encourage you to call your parents and say, how are you doing? Don't ask them more details. What happened lately? What new issues? Oh, somebody called me, said I won a bigger award, a prize. Be careful, that's a scam, okay? But they don't know. So children need to know what happened, details to their parents. And they can warn them, alert, you know. So parents, it's not like when you were young, so, oh, parents knows everything. Parents are good, you know. They don't need help. But when they're getting old, you know, especially living alone, you need to talk to them more, call them more often, get more details what happened in their lives. And I think that's the film is about.
I think the one thing that we could all agree on, the purpose of making this was the call to action at the end. Go call your parents. Like literally after you walk out of this thing, just like call them up and be like, what's going on? What are these bank transfers? But it is to really just connect with your parents more. That's the only thing we can do with a story like this.
So my last question for you all is, how has this changed your family relationship, the making of this film?
I find out my family all behind me. They all support me. And although before we don't talk too much because we live far away, one son live in Houston, the other one live in New York, the other one live in California. You know, sometimes I think I should have more children. Really, you know, every state got my son or daughter there so I can go travel without worrying about hotel expenses. But now I have only 3 and they live so apart away. We make some phone calls, but they are not living just close to me. And so, children need to go call parents more. And after this, they all come to me, they help me, they all love me. So I say, oh, I have a big family, they all support me. I feel much better. And but their mom said that she worried about committing suicide. I would never commit suicide. I feel sad for about 3 days, and I said, okay, what happened, happened. And I can do nothing to change it. The only thing urgent for me is to go find some job to make some money to living. So I go food deliveries, and not bad, get some money.
Lala, what's your perspective as the outsider? How have you seen this film change the family?
The strangest thing is choosing to do something that will have an outcome on the subject. And that is the classic rule in documentary filming you are not supposed to cross, and we broke all the rules. It's like Schrodinger's cat, you know, alive and dead at the same time. The act of observing changes the observation. Had we not chosen to do this, Jerry would continue to be delivering food. And John and I were like, I was asking John, what can we do right now for Jerry? What can the sons do for him right now? And the answer was, let's make this thing and then make him a part of it. But that changes the entire course of his life. Is that okay ethically? No, not for documentaries. But like me as an outside observer being part of and witnessing this change for the better. He's up here on the stage at the Castro Theater in front of all of you guys. Like that it's worth it. Who cares? Who cares about the rules or whatever? Like I saw this family come together and make a positive change in his life, and we didn't have an ending for this film going into it. We were hoping to make it, and we were hoping to be like, we found the people who stole the money, and it was converted into Bitcoin. Joke's on them. And we're gonna get it back, and then Jerry's gonna have this redemptive story of like, you know, being the hero and getting all his money back, but that didn't happen. We don't have an ending. What is the ending to this movie? And realizing that us making this thing was the ending in itself.
Yeah, it's still happening right now. Like, this is still part of the movie.
You're in the documentary, all of you. Like, this is part of it. So.
No, like this is still, like his journey has not ended. I'm still documenting it. I'm still like asking him questions daily of like, how does this feel? Are you okay? And, you know, like our relationship has gone so much closer. I have seen him more than in this year than 5 years combined, because it would always be like, okay, what should we do? Christmas or Thanksgiving? Pick one, right? That was the usual like mode of like, how are we gonna have a family reunion? Now I've seen him like everywhere. Every month I've seen him like at least 2 weeks at a time, because we get to do these film festivals. We get to talk to people. We get to have these events where we can share our stories. So, I mean, kind of self-promotional, but it is like we get to, the more we spread the word about this movie, the more we can share this instance and start conversation.
Thank you so much. And the last word goes to starring Jerry himself. How are you feeling about being in this audience with all these folks, seeing your story?
I enjoyed to travel around. My son took me to different festivals, you know, and some slam dance. We win three awards.